Greetings, Wrestle Buddies, and welcome to the latest issue of Wrestle Buddy Interviews. I'm joined today by an absolutely fantastic guest, a man who's given pleasure of giving me an hour of his time, Ricardo Rodriguez. Ricardo, how are you, my friend?
Welcome. Thank you. First of all, the coffee hasn't kicked in yet, so I'm still waiting for the coffee to kick in. My brain is a little off, but good morning. I'm happy to be here, all the way from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So greetings.
Greetings. Just before we went on the air, you mentioned that you're opening a school soon?
It's been in the talks since I got here to Lancaster. I've been doing a couple of shows, and I was asked. This is kind of how the whole thing even started. I was asked if I was planning on doing something here locally, and I mean, yeah, it's always been a thought of mine for years to have something of my own. For God knows how many years, since as long as I remember, I've had the pleasure of being able to travel to different countries, different cities, and operate schools, but it was never under my umbrella. And I'm thankful for everybody that gave me the opportunity. I really am. So throughout the last couple of months that I've been here in this area, I was asked if I was doing something, and then that's kind of where the idea stemmed from. And I think I'm going to jump on that, and I think I'm going to do something here locally, and then this time under my own name. So I'm hoping that kind of gets kicked off hopefully soon. So kind of rummaging through all like the ideas that I've had in the past, and I think that's going to happen. So definitely that's something to keep an eye on for anybody that's watching this. If it does happen, when it happens.
Yeah.
When it happens, I'll be posting something big on Instagram, on Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff, on a TikTok, whatever social medias are out there. So definitely that's something to keep an eye on.
Oh, fantastic. Right, well, let's get straight into things, shall we? I've got to ask, first question. You competed as Chimera for 4 years on the Indies.
I did.
When you got to WWE, what was it like them transitioning you from being an in-ring competitor to a manager, even though you had in-ring experience?
It was a whole ironic type of thing because the Chimera character, because I was going back to the Chimera stuff, I was a big fan of like Low Key, Super Dragon, Great Muta, and none of those guys talked, or they were very, like the way that they worked, the way that they wrestled was very mysterious and all that stuff, and they weren't very vocal. Well, they were vocal, but they weren't talkative. And the ironic part was that I got hired to talk. So for 4 years, and I think throughout the 4 years of my independence, I cut 2 or 3 promos total. So the ironic thing was that I got hired to talk, and so that was awkward. And then so for me to go into that was weird at first, and then it also kind of sucked in the sense that I wanted to wrestle. I wanted to be hired to be a wrestler, and I got hired in a non-wrestling role. So it took me a lot of swallowing my pride, and it took me a lot of time to kind of accept that what my role was. Of course, I was happy. Of course, I was thankful that I was in WWE because I mean, it's WWE. But I wanted to wrestle, and I got to watch everybody else wrestle, and it took a while for them to even realize that I knew how to wrestle. At least in my head, I knew how to wrestle. But eventually, I mean, obviously, eventually it kind of happened and it worked into it. But it wasn't because they just like, oh, let's give this kid a try. It was more so because every freaking day, either at FCW or before Raw or SmackDown, I was in the ring and I was rolling around. I would grab one of the extras and I would just start just like sprawling because I wanted to get in the ring. And I was only 4 years in. I was super hungry and I wanted it, and I wanted for them to see that I wanted to wrestle.
Yeah.
So that kind of eventually happened. So it slowly transitioned from on-air ring announcer manager to wrestling. But even as Ricardo never wrestled. Ricardo was just, he had matches, but they were goofy stuff. But ultimately, it took a while to swallow my pride and accept what my role was. As The Rock says, the role. and I had to know my role. But I got the pleasure to wrestle, like actually wrestle on the European tours, on the dark matches, a few times on main event, a few times on Saturday Morning Slam. So that was fun, and those are experiences nobody can ever take away from me, you know. And I got
It's
to do with my Chimera gear, which to me that's awesome.
that's cool. I didn't realize that. That's
Yep,
very
that was my
interesting.
Chimera gear. So the El Localo gear was a Chimera gear.
I did not
And
know
even my
that.
jacket's a Chimera, so stuff like that, like nobody can ever take that away from me. You know?
Yeah, that's really cool. That's something you can hold inside that is just it's yours forever.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I've got to ask, while we're on the subject of WWE, obviously you were paired with Alberto,
Mhm.
and you guys were in the main event an awful lot. You were in there with Punk, you were in there with Cena. Out of the programs that you did with these two guys, like which was it hard to work with Punk or Cena, or did you find it easy to just mold in to the situation at hand?
You know what? They were both different, but in proper ways, in different ways. Cena's Cena. There's nobody like Cena. Cena knows how to control the crowd, and that to me was beautiful to watch him. Um, One of the examples I constantly use, and this is because it was one of those like moments of realization for me at least, was when we were at a live event and Alberto was working with Cena. And you know how, like in wrestling, you've been around wrestling long enough. You put something to hold, the crowd starts doing this whole thing.
Yeah.
Um, so sure enough, and they're getting ready to blow the comeback, you know, and wrap it up. And so sure enough, the crowd starts coming along, and then I heard because it's a live event, so they talk to each other louder than normal because there's no cameras around. So the cameras will pick up, and we won't be on Matthews. You talk too much. Uh, what's it called? Yeah. So Alberto goes, all right, let's go, let's go. And then Cena somewhere halfway through up, he goes like, no, and I could hear him, and I was like, no, no, not yet. They're not there yet. Bring me down. So sure enough, Alberto brings him down, and then sure enough, the crowd just comes back even louder than the first time. And I was like, what the fuck? Like how does he know this? Um,
Yeah.
that was just one of those instances where I got to understand, or I got to hear Cena's how and why of things. Um, and then Punk was awesome, man. Wrestling wise, Punk was great, and then he was very receptive to ideas. Another thing I'm always gonna be thankful for was that I was constantly pitching ideas, and at first I would pitch it to Alberto. Alberto would pitch it to the producer would pitch it to whoever we were working with, and then as time went on, I started pitching the ideas directly to the person or the producer. And a lot of times they were very receptive. They would tweak it to make it make sense more so
Hmm.
than not, but they were very receptive. There were so many times where I would get contacted from some producers where they're like, hey, coming up we have this guy versus this guy. Think of a finish or think of something. So brainstorm some stuff. So sure enough, by the time we got to the pay per view, we would kind of throw ideas out, and we would make the better whatever would come out. And a lot of those finishes were mine. I mean, again, they were tweaked and stuff, but their ideas were mine. So that was kind of cool to watch somebody else. So it's
I was
kind
gonna.
of like as a writer, as a director, to watch the actors perform your ideas live and then have it come out great. Because you can have like a great script, but if the actors are not great, it's gonna come out shit.
Yeah.
Um, but thankfully we had great actors. I mean, on the role. Um, but yeah, man, like I was very thankful. I was very thankful for everybody involved. I mean, the producers that we had, the agents, everybody was great. And the best thing that I got to learn from a lot of those folks was more so the why of wrestling, not the how. The how is easy. It's the why. That's the whole psychology aspect of it. That to me is still so intriguing. And that's something that I can take it away and then pass it on to other people who's ever willing to listen.
Okay. No, I can understand that. It's like you get put in a position and your ideas get through the system. I imagine it's not just an ego boost, but it's a confidence boost. It lets you know that the people are listening and that your
Oh, yeah,
ideas are validated rather than just being brushed to one side.
definitely, 100%, 100%. But it feels great. It feels great, and then every single person that we got to work with was such a blessing, and just little things that they would say that you're like, huh, that makes sense. I don't know why I didn't think about that. For instance, like Christian was such a genius when it came to putting matches together. And he's definitely somebody that I wish people would um, give more credit to, because he's such a genius. We
Yeah.
would come up with like this match or these ideas, and we're like, yeah, we got this. He's gonna, be super impressed, and then we'd offer it, and then be like, oh, that's cool. But what if we did like this? And he would take $100 idea and then turn it into like $1,000 million idea just by simple little tweak. It's like, fuck, that makes so much sense. And then he would explain it, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, that's right. That makes more sense. Um, but yeah.
No, that's fantastic to know. I love Christian Cage, so that's always good. Just slightly off topic, have you paid any attention to the work he's doing in AEW at the moment?
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I feel like somebody like that is so key and so pivotal in creating people. And then why not use him to that extent? I mean, I'm not saying that he's coming to the end of his career, but I mean, he has a lot of experience behind him. Why not offer to, to pass it on to other people?
Yeah, well,
I love it.
I think he's doing fantastic work, but I would tend to agree with you. Where do you believe he'd be suited to a backstage role in AEW as a producer rather than just an in-ring talent?
We had a similar topic not too long ago on something else that I did, and it was about like the producers and all that stuff. And just opinion. Obviously, I could be wrong how I feel, but it's just an opinion. So technically, I can't be wrong, but uh, it's just an opinion. They have such amazing people working backstage, and there's a lot of stuff that you'll see that I'm just like, how, or why did that happen? How did that get through the agents? Um, I don't know, but I feel like somebody like him, somebody like Malenko, somebody like Arn Anderson, Jerry Lynn. I think Billy Gunn is an agent still.
Hmm.
Dustin Rhodes, Dustin, excuse me, Dustin Rhodes. I'm sure I'm missing folks, and I'm sorry. I think Glacier's still there. I think.
Yes.
Um, so like, why not utilize those amazing minds? You can still do all the cool stuff that you're doing, just run it through them so they can put it in order, or put it in a way that will make sense. It'll give more value to what you're doing. Um, but
So
I feel like,
would
yeah,
you
go ahead.
say you believe AEW needs a production team?
They have it. They have it. Um, but mind you, when I worked there, for those couple of days that I was with AEW, I was just on the Spanish side, so I don't know what the process was. I didn't see what the process was. And like I said, I could totally be wrong. I could totally be wrong.
Hmm.
Um, but I saw the agents, and I'm like, man, you guys have such amazing minds there. I would stick to them, like white on rice, man. Like I would just be on them, because that's what I used to do in WWE. Like even if my match wasn't, or if our match wasn't around, and there was one of the producers, I was, let's say Arn was talking to another match, I would just kind of like sit around them and just listen to them, as of to like figure out how Arn would take ideas and then just switch them around to make it make sense. And that to me was so pivotal. So like I said, to me, learning the whys of wrestling is what just really gets me going.
No, I can understand that. It's like because you can learn the how, anyone can learn the how,
Right.
but the
Yeah.
why is it's a little bit different. There's
Right.
certain nuances and everything you need to get the hands of. Uh, but sorry to drag you off on subject then. I just got curious. I've got to ask. You are one of my favourite managers, like in a very long time. I think you were as funny as Bobby Heenan, but people disagree with me, but they're wrong. Uh, I
That's a big one, man.
I absolutely adored your work with Alberto. But how do you? What's your opinion on the way managers are used now? Like, because WWE don't tend to typically have a lot of managers, but they have a few, like MVP and Paul Heyman.
Mhm.
Uh, how do you feel managers are used in today's business as opposed to when you were managing yourself?
There's a difference between managers and valets. There's a lot of valets, and that's always been a thing, especially when I was on the Indies. I thought that if you came out with the person, you were the manager. Like and then obviously once I was at WWE, I realized like there was more to it. Because I started off as just a ring announcer. I wasn't the manager. I was just the ring announcer. And then as time went on, I got more involved with the matches. So I was still technically the ring announcer, but a la like like Lana or Vicky or even Heyman, which I mean I've said it the area on Twitter. Heyman set the bar way hella high for a lot of folks, and rightfully so. You know, Heyman is
Yeah.
is his own level. Nobody touches Heyman anywhere near Heyman right now. But MVP is doing a hell of a job, man. I love what MVP was doing. I thought Leo Rush had a good thing going on for a while. I don't know him that well personally, so I can't speak on the issues that he had. Um, but obviously, I wish him the best. But no, MVP. I love what MVP is doing. I know I've been off of WWE TV for a good minute, so I'm not sure who's around at the moment. Um, but there's a big difference between managers and valet. A lot of people are just valets. They
Okay.
just kind of come out, don't do much of anything, and then that's about it.
Would you say that managers get underutilized today, or would you think that
Yeah,
it's just the
it's
movement
not
of the
that they get
business?
underused. It's not that they get underused. It's just I don't know if a lot of folks know how to be
Okay.
managers. And it's not their fault. Like I don't. A lot of things that are happening currently now is I don't blame it on the people themselves because it could have been that they just were never taught or they just saw it and they never had anybody to kind of like guide them through the process. They just kind of saw it on TV and like, well, I could do that. Um, and they kind of go about it that way. Uh, but man, well, I'll put it this way: when I was around there, and then I know this is not the first time I've said it, where um, I was involved with the matches, and I don't mean just like in the spot for the finish, the screw up, whatever, or the helping my guy win. I mean, I was involved. I was calling the matches for them as it was happening because I would remember the matches. Oftentimes, they had so many pre-tapes and promos and all this stuff going on that the match was just kind of almost secondary per se. They would just be like, all right, so hey, what's the finish? Like this is the finish. You got this much time. This is the cutoff. This is the break spot. All right, and then the rest it would just kind of go on as the match went on. So they would utilize me as a messenger between everybody. There was a lot of times where like Alberto would be on the outside. I would get close to the ring. The ref would tell me, "Hey, tell them they got 5 minutes." So I would go back to Alberto, 5 minutes. Or Alberto would tell me, "Hey, tell them to give me X, Y, Z," or tell them to take this when I come in. So I would run over to the other side. Hey,
Mm.
take this. So there was more to it. Or also, like I said, I was helping them put matches or spots together, transitions, things that would make sense, that were different. Um, so there's more to it than just coming out with somebody. Um,
Yeah.
then yeah,
Yeah.
otherwise she's just a valet.
Okay. Well, you mentioned Leo Rush, and obviously Leo Rush did, I think, a fantastic job in AEW when he was managing Dante Martin and a couple of others. Do you think AEW have cracked how to use their managers, or do you feel like they're all still pretty much valets?
Mm, I can't speak on it too much because I'll be honest, I because of my schedule, it's hard to watch it sometimes. Um, and I know I know it's on YouTube, but I just if it's not live, it's hard for me to watch something, especially when it's already on
Nobody
Twitter
watches the
and I already.
YouTube shows, Ricardo.
No, it's not even that. It's not even that. It's like even like football games, soccer games. If it's not live and somebody says, "Dude, that was a great game," I probably won't watch it because I already read what happened on Twitter. Um, so that's just overall. That's not just in wrestling. That's just overall. If I'm
Hmm.
not watching as it's happening, and then I spoiled it for myself because I already read what happened on Twitter. Uh, I don't know. I know they have that Sterling, Mark Sterling. I don't know what's happened. I'm happy for Stokely. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm happy for him. I know he was doing a hell of a job in Evolve. So I haven't seen what he's been doing lately, but I wish him the best because I enjoyed his stuff in Evolve. Um,
He's doing a great job. He's managing Jade Cargill at the
right,
moment,
right, right,
doing fantastic mouthpiece Stokely Hathaway. So
right. Yeah, so I'm happy for him. I don't believe I've met him. I know we chit chatted a few times on Twitter, but that's about it. Who else is on? I am happy that Christian broke away from whatever he was doing before. And he's more involved now. I can't think of who else is doing manager stuff at the moment.
Arn Anderson was, but I haven't
Mhm.
seen Arn in a while. Christian Jungle is doing Luchasaurus. Honestly, it's cut down quite a lot in recent months in AEW. Like, you've got
Yeah.
Stokely Hathaway with Jade Cargill, Christian Cage running Luchasaurus, Arn Anderson's not really doing anything. Tully Blanchard's obviously started up in Ring of Honor now with his new team.
Right. Yeah. Which actually, I was very close with Tualonga. Um, wait, what name is he going by? Shoot, it makes someone wonder what name is he? Leona.
Yeah.
Leona. Because we were training together in Burbank, California, at Knox Pro, so we used to train together. And Khan, I've run into him several times over in San Antonio before they were signed. So I'm happy for both of them that they're on there.
Oh, that's
Um,
fantastic.
yeah, yeah. So we got called for AEW the same day, back in October, November, and they just kept bringing him back. So I'm happy for him.
Oh, no, that's
Bruce,
fantastic
what up,
news.
Bruce?
Now, on to something slightly more serious. Slightly more serious. We've got to get your opinion on this just because it's the biggest news in wrestling at the moment. The current situation in WWE.
Uh,
Everyone has an opinion on this. We've got to get yours. Like, just everything that's going on with Vince and with Stephanie taking over as interim CEO. Do you think Stephanie being put in place was a good idea? What's your opinion on the whole Vince situation? Did you ever think that anything like this would ever come up with Vince? I know you were reasonably close to the man when you worked there. So, like, what's your whole take on the situation?
it's I know it's a sensitive topic, and overall, it's an unfortunate thing. Surprised it took this long, and it's not just in wrestling. It's in so many industries, so many companies, where men of such high power and money, um, that happens to them. Not so much the getting caught, the act of doing something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it happens a lot. We hear about it all the time, on TMZ. Um, but to what Jericho said on his podcast, or on that podcast, is it illegal? No. Is it fucked up? Yeah. Morally, yeah, it's totally wrong. It's totally screwed up. Um, but it wasn't illegal. So if you look at it from that sense, I feel like Vince is gonna walk off, and be all right. That's
Do
what
you
he's like.
think he'll? Do you think he'll step down on a permanent basis and let Stephanie take things over? And do you think that'll be good for the company, or do you think that Vince will kind of ride out the storm and then just settle back into his old ways when the ships have calmed down?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I for one, and only because I had the pleasure of working with Stephanie for years. I would love for her to take the reins and see what happens. Um, I As much as I appreciated Vince, as much as I really, really, really honestly value the time that we had with him, because he is a genius, man. He is creative as fuck. Um, I he's been doing this for 40 some years,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, how long it was. Um, so yeah, I would be totally fine with Stephanie taking over. With even Triple H, being there alongside of her, whether it's her or Triple H, either one. Um, I feel like they're closer to the mindset of what the current fan base wants,
Okay.
than what Vince does. A lot of his ideas, yeah, sure, they're older, they're antique, as you may want to say, but what old is new sometimes. So it's a weird little double, but I,
Yeah.
I wouldn't I wouldn't be opposed to Stephanie taking over at all.
No, no, no. Oh, that's fantastic. Right, what else have we got here? Sticking with WWE and slightly more controversial thing, the Sasha Banks and Naomi situation. Do you think they've been released? Do you think this is a work? Is the whole thing real? Are they going to get brought back to the company? You yourself, having worked there, you understand the ins and outs of how the stories go in WWE. Would you say this is a storyline, or would you say this is reality?
If they're working everybody, they're totally working everybody. I don't know. I mean, So, and then I'm only repeating what somebody had told me the other day, and they're like they're trying to do the MJF story but better. Uh,
Ah, okay.
and I was like, and it actually got in my head, and I was like, huh. So who knows? Who knows? I
That's
don't know.
that's an interesting take. I never thought that. That's a very interesting point. The fact that they could be trying to repeat what AEW are doing with MJF, but with Sasha and Naomi on a more realistic level.
Right. So
No,
I don't know.
that's very interesting. It's very interesting. Right, on to let's just why not go on to Roman Reigns. Roman obviously has had this fantastic near 700-day run as Universal Champion.
Mhm.
But his schedule is now very similar to what Brock Lesnar's was when Brock Lesnar was Universal Champion, where he's not on TV a lot, he doesn't do a lot of pay-per-views. Do you think it was a mistake for WWE to put both belts on Roman? Or do you think there's a grander scheme at play?
No, if there's one thing that I did learn is that there's always reason to madness with them. Sure, oftentimes it doesn't plan out as they had in mind, but there's always a reason for shit that they do. Um, and like I said, just when and I know there was something that was going. I forgot what it was, but there was always like the whole like just let it play out type of thing. Unfortunately, some stuff because of times, because of whatever unthinkable factors, things don't play out. But WWE always has some kind of a reason behind their madness. That's something that I learned when I was there. Like I said, it doesn't always work out, but they always have something in mind. I'm cool with this whole idea of bringing back these like long reigns to making the title mean more. Like the 80s, 70s. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
who had the longest? Was it Backlund or who had the longest one?
Bruno.
Bruno, right? Bruno.
Yeah, Bruno.
Um,
2,743 days, I think it was.
yeah, so
Uh,
I would not be opposed to something of that sort. Um, and also, I do feel like this current generation needs another set of Rock, Austin, Triple H, a Taker. And I don't know if this is what they're trying to accomplish to build somebody to that point, but they also need a strong opponent. This is where I feel like WWE is lacking is that they're not building strong enough opponents. They'll
would you
have
say
somebody that physically is able to, but I mean they don't build them storyline wise.
so? Would you say that the big problem with Roman is the fact that they haven't built enough baby faces to challenge the all-conquering heel?
I don't think they've built enough suitable, worthy opponents. And it's
Okay.
not, and like I said, it's not the wrestler's fault. It's not the individual wrestler's fault. It's just they haven't the machine hasn't built uh, enough people. Because even if you
Okay.
go back to let's say I want to say like even mid early 2000s, the mid card was strong. The even the lower card was strong. The upper obviously the fucking mid 2000s the main eventers were top dogs, no pun intended. But they were they were all strong. You can take anybody from the mid card and put them up in a top liner and they'd be
Yeah.
fine. And it's a little harder to do that now on a lot of these brands, and it's not the wrestler's fault. That's what I definitely want to put across. It's not the wrestler's fault. It's just the machine behind them.
Yeah. Okay, I can understand that. On that subject, SummerSlam's coming up.
Hmm.
SummerSlam's coming up. Biggest page of the year. Do you think they take the belts off Roman, or do you think they keep the belts on Roman and keep that title reign going?
Who's he up against? Brock?
Brock, for the last time, apparently.
I don't know. Not yet. Not yet.
No.
Go with WrestleMania.
Okay.
I would
Okay, I
go
can
with
understand
WrestleMania
that. Why would you wait till WrestleMania?
because it's WrestleMania.
Good answer.
It's WrestleMania.
Good answer.
And
Good
it's in
answer.
LA. And it's in LA.
Do you think then, staying on the subject of Roman, do you think because the machine has failed to build up enough competitors that they're kind of running out of competition for Roman Reigns right now? With obviously there's a massive stake of injuries at the moment in wrestling. Randy Orton's out.
Mm.
AEW have a litany list of injured people.
Yeah.
But do you feel that because of the current injury list, the times that we're living in, and the fact that the machine hasn't built up enough, that Roman is running out of credible opponents?
I'm trying to think. I mean, who was the last few that really gave him a run? Was it Drew?
No, Drew hasn't had his run against Roman yet.
Okay.
That's going to be Clash at the Castle, I believe.
That's coming up. Right?
Yeah, September.
I mean, Drew. Hopefully, Randy can come back in time. Randy can definitely give him a good run. I wouldn't be opposed to Sheamus building Sheamus back up. Drew. Fuck, I can't even think of other folks. Mind you, also I haven't been watching a lot of it either, just because of my current schedule.
I was going to say you're a busy man, Ricardo, so I didn't expect you to keep up to the product.
Very busy as of late. There's a lot of projects that we got coming up, and so I got a lot of that going on. So yeah, I can't think of unless it, if they ended up doing Cena, Roman, or Rock, which would be awesome.
I think everybody wants the Rock Roman at WrestleMania.
It's a family affair, man. Why not?
It's got to be done. It's got to be done.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, why not at WrestleMania? The Rock versus Roman. It's the Anoa'i family, and Johnson, and have the whole family there. I mean, Rikishi lives in LA, so why not?
Nah, that'd be a fantastic idea. And just last question about Roman. Out of everybody you see in WWE at the moment, who do you think's the perfect person to take those titles, or at least one of those belts from him?
I'm not fully sure, because I don't. And again, this is all just opinion. I don't feel like they've built enough supporting actors or a proper villain, or a proper hero. And I don't know if it's like a shuffle. They're trying something out and it doesn't work, and then they like completely scratch it. Because this also goes, for a lot of companies across the board. They're doing like a trial and error, and then something doesn't work out, so they have to switch it up, and then all the work that went into this guy gets pushed back. But again, I don't blame the wrestlers themselves at all. It's more of a failure of the system, I believe.
No, well, I tend to agree with you there. I mean, a wrestler can only do so much without the support of the company behind them when it comes down to it. So I can completely understand that point of view. Okay, we covered it slightly a bit earlier on, so I'm going to touch on it again now. The MJF situation. Do you think this has become just a fantastic storyline that is being exceedingly well told? Or do you feel there's a little bit of truth to Maxwell wanting to leave and the whole necessary heat of the situation?
A lot of stories stem from real life situations. At least that's what makes a storyline even better. Because there could be real undertones of the situation. I don't know MJF personally. I only met him those 2 days I was with AEW. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some sort of discussion or discourse that occurred between him and Tony where he did want to leave. Maybe, I don't know, or he wanted to go try WWE. I still feel ultimately that's the main goal for many people. And until AEW can get to that global status of WWE, WWE is still going to be the top of the food chain.
On that note, do you believe that at some point in the near future, AEW consider themselves competition for WWE, but realistically at the moment, I don't think they are? Do you ever see AEW becoming legit, like a WCW level threat to WWE? Or do you feel the business has changed so much that they're just going to go their own separate paths?
That's the thing about the future. We don't know. Like, I have no clue. I would want them to grow as much as possible because I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of former students. I have a lot of acquaintances that are working there. So I want a place for everybody to go and make a living. So that doesn't have to be WWE. But I don't believe and this again just opinion. I don't believe AEW is at the WWE level internationally. Um, and I say this because I lived in different countries. Um, I just like I said, I just came back from Egypt,
Hmm.
and they don't have it over there. They'll have to resort to illegal streaming or the YouTube shows, and even then it's YouTube. Um, so that's an unfortunate thing. And again, it's not the wrestler's fault. This is what I want to make sure I get across. It's not the wrestler's fault. I don't blame the wrestlers at all. Um, but and also AEW is only 3 years old, so they're still growing. There's still a
Very
lot
true.
of things that they have to fix. There's still, and it's like anything else. You're gonna make your errors. It's a learning process. So I hope they learn from issues
When
that they
when you say they have stuff they need to fix, what would be a prime example of something you think AEW need to fix in their programming?
um, I I don't know. That's a weird one. Uh, I think overall better structure. I'm not a fan. I'll be honest. There's a lot of the backstage segments that I'm not a fan of how they come off. Um,
Hmm.
there's times where I feel that they do them once and they're like, all right, we got it. Let's put it on air. Where it's like, oh, you could have done it a second time. Um, I think social. I don't want to say social media presence. I just think it's more so just getting your stuff out there overall. Because like I
Okay.
said, living in these different countries and traveling throughout the last couple of years, and they're not aware of. They've heard of it, but they don't know of it. Um, Whereas, like, even though I've been off of TV for X amount of years, I've still been able to travel to these places, and they still know who Ricardo is, and that's only because of the power of the WWE influence on international.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can understand that because WWE is just such a machine
It's Coca
that
Cola,
it's
It's
yeah.
Coca Cola.
That's the best way to
Coca
put it.
Cola is McDonald's, is Disney.
Yeah.
Um, you show anybody from anywhere that stupid mouse, and they know it's Mickey Mouse. You know,
That's a good point. Show anyone that logo, they know it's WWE.
right,
Even my mum knows who John Cena is.
right, yeah, exactly. He hasn't been on TV. Well, I mean, he just came back, I think, but and then he's been gone for so long. So
Hmm.
it's I think it's hopefully they keep pushing forward and they become a global thing, and they continue to grow, because like I said, I have a lot of friends that work there and I'm very happy for their success. So I want them to have a place to work. I want them to have a place to go and make money, and make a living just off of wrestling, which is fucking great.
Okay, that's fantastic. So you don't think, just to put it in slightly comedic terms, you don't see AEW becoming TNA 2.0?
I I had such high hopes for TNA. I really did. Same with like Ring of Honor. I had such high hopes for Ring of Honor. Um, where it went downward, I'm not sure. Um, to become like a big global thing. I know when I was living in India, it was cricket, soccer, WWE, Impact. That was like the way it ranked abruptly. So
Yeah.
Impact was big in India.
Hmm.
Everybody knew who the wrestlers were. Um, I don't know what it is now, but I mean, I think they're still like on Sony Six. Um, but I would definitely love for AEW to keep growing and then do eventually become like that really big competitor to WWE, where they would
Fantastic.
be like, hey, we got to step up our shit because AEW's on our ass. I would love for that.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, well, thank you very much. Just brilliant bit of information. And I've got to ask the recent rumours. In fact, before I get on to that, I've got to ask yourself a personal question. Have you had any contact with Tony Khan about bringing you back in? Or
No,
is that kind of
no.
quietened off?
I only met him in passing. He knew me by Ricardo, which is great when I saw him. Um, I after I did my little tryout there, I never heard back from them. But I mean, I think WWE is kind of like similar to that as well, where they just, if you don't hear back from them, like that's basically a no. But when I did my commentary tryout, I was there with this other gentleman, named Alvaro Riojas, and he was great. Like I have no issues with him. He was super awesome the whole time. and then he got offered the spot. Which, hey, you know what? Like the better man won, and I don't want to say that, but yeah, he got it. But I'm happy for him. I'm genuinely happy for him. When they told me that, hey, you know, it's not because somebody else told me that they gave it to him. I texted him. I was like, dude, congratulations. I'm happy for you, and it was genuine. At the time, I was scheduled to go back to Egypt, so I was on my way to Egypt when I got the message from Sanjay Dutt about it, and then I got contacted by Thunder Rosa like right away as well. So then I canceled my flight to Egypt. I went to Boston. I did the Boston and Orlando, um, and then I just kind of waited for a little while. And then when I didn't hear anything back from him after about a month, I was like, well, all right, it's all right, no biggie. I'm gonna go back to Egypt. But then the Omicron thing happened, and everything just got canceled. So I ended up going back to Egypt, and here I am still.
Brilliant. Slightly more recent topic. Recently, we've heard rumours of WWE returning to a TV14 product.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've always looked at this as the cycle of WWE. First of all, they target children, then those children grow up, they age up the company, and then so on and so forth, they repeat the cycle. Do you think that this is going to happen, or do you just think it's a bit of a rumour? Because a lot of people I know have said that they think if Vince targets a TV14 audience, he's alienating that younger audience that he's targeted for so long. Do you think going back to TV14 is a good idea, or do you just think it's a malicious rumour?
People grow up. People grow up. Uh, like for instance, I'll put Pokemon for instance, right? Because a bunch of us played Pokemon when we were kids, and as time went on, like we're still playing Pokemon. I know I am. Um, but like now the games are a little more intricate. The graphics are better. Yeah, they're sort of still for kids, but we can all enjoy it. And maybe that's a bad example, but
No, it's a
uh,
good example.
but yeah, we all grow up. Um, so why not? You know, I mean, yeah, those kids that were big Bailey fans. Izzy, I'll use her as an example. Izzy, who you know, when she came onto the scene in NXT, she was a little kid, and now she's a teenager, so she's growing up as well. So like, obviously, the product evolves along with the audience. Um, so yeah, we grew up. Why not? Why not go to 14? It's not like a lot is gonna change. These kids on the streets are so goddamn fucking knowledgeable of like stupid shit. Like just the stuff that I hear on the street, man. Like these kids know more about drugs, sex, and rock and roll than I do now. Fuck. um, and I think it's just a parent thing to be honest. But yeah, let them go to 14. Eventually, somebody's gonna get upset and they'll bring it back down to PG, to or G, whatever the fuck it is. Still violence.
Yeah, still the way it goes. The only thing is, do you think there'll be any blood reintroduced to the product, or because of obviously they have a lot of contracts with toy companies like Mattel, etc., who aren't a fan of, say, male on female violence, they aren't a fan of blood in the product.
This is the thing that I don't think a lot of folks. Oh, and real quick, Charizard and Mewtwo. Um,
There you go.
I just saw that little comment. Or the question. This is what a lot of folks don't understand between WWE. WWE runs as a business. A big thing that I wish I had understood when I was there was that it's a business. And I wish I would have gone into it with that mindset versus going into WWE with the illusion of a dream of becoming a wrestler. Of that a lot of us have. But had I gone into it as a knowledge, knowing that it's a business and it runs as a business, I think a lot of things would have been different. I probably still would have been there. Um, the WWE is a business, so obviously they're going to, and it's a publicly traded company, so
Yes.
they have to run on those terms, and that's why they cater so much more to international businesses than they do the U.S. because the U.S. audience is always going to be there. That because this is where they tour. They tour in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, of course they do their international stuff. So I mean, there was a reason why they had put Alberto and myself on such a high profile was because at the time Ray was, Ray needed somebody on that spectrum of the Latino culture or the Latino audience. Ray got hurt. They tried with Sin Cara, didn't work out, so they bumped us up there. So we were the representatives of the Latino culture
Mm-hmm.
or demographic for X amount of years. So it runs as a business. Uh, I'm not saying this was a reason because I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me that when Jinder got the title was because WWE was on their way to India,
Yeah,
and
that
India
makes
is a
perfect sense.
major market. Um, so yeah, it's a major market. Um, so yeah, so that's why they had so many. They had gone out and then gotten so many wrestlers from different countries to have actual representatives to represent these countries. Like the China deal that they had for Cena to learn Mandarin was first of all awesome, um, but because they were opening up a huge market over there, it's a business. Um, so I just wish people understood that a whole lot more, and then your mentality is going to change through a whole lot more versus just constantly bashing WWE as like, oh, why are they doing this? This is stupid. It's like, no, there's always reasoning why they do certain things.
There's a method to the madness at the
Right.
end of the day.
Yeah.
Right, if you don't mind, I'm going to quickly jump in the comments. And if you could answer a couple of our viewers' questions, if that's
Yeah.
okay with you. So, Simon says, Ricardo, you've been in the ring with some of the Lucha legends. What was it like working in the ring with Rey Mysterio? And who would you consider your favourite to work with?
Uh, so first of all, Ray. So Ray's Ray. Nobody will ever be like Ray. And something that does upset me sometimes is when people go like, "Oh, this guy's gonna be the next Rey Mysterio." I was like, no. There's nobody gonna be another Rey Mysterio. You won't be Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio is Rey Mysterio, and that's it. This guy's the next Eddie Guerrero. Like, no. Eddie was one of a kind, once of a lifetime. Nobody will ever be another Eddie Guerrero. I remember the first time I took the 619. It was on SmackDown, and I think it was like the second or third week that I was there. And I've taken 619s before, on the Indies, but not from Ray. So I'm facing the Titantron, the stage, and I
Yeah.
can see Ray, and I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna take it. Uh, I wasn't gonna put my hands up. So sure enough, I just took it, and I forgot that Ray wears knee braces.
Oh.
Fuck in hell. Caught me right here with the knee brace.
Oh.
Fucking shit hurt so bad.
I bet it did.
And,
Surprised it didn't break your nose.
oh yeah, no, but after that I would just kind of like sneak in the arm after the first one. But the first one I was like, fuck it, I'm not putting my hands up. This is when so I was marking out. I was marking out until the actual contact happened.
Yeah, I bet you were. Oh, that's amazing. Andy Donnelly would like to know, have you had any discussions with WWE to bring in as an actual ring announcer?
No. And to be honest, right now I have a lot of things that I'm working on that I would like to finish these projects before something like that ever happens again. I would love to. Don't get me wrong. I would love to. I be it Impact, be it WWE, be it AEW. I would love to go back to a company of such. But no talks, no talks. I've talked to folks individually outside of that are still within the company, even office. But just shooting the shit, just saying hello, touching base.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Right, well, I've taken up quite a lot of your precious time now, Ricardo. So just before we finish up, I'd like to hit you with some rapid fire questions, if that's okay.
Sure.
Just quick ones. So, Brian Danielson or CM Punk?
But for different reasons. Different reasons.
Please feel free to elaborate.
No, there's just different people. I wish I had been able to work with the CM the Daniel Brian Danielson that is now. We didn't get a chance to work with that one, with that version, and I wish we had because it's awesome. I love what he's doing. The CM Punk one, man, I love that he's working on elevating younger talent. I'm a fan of that. I'm a fan that he's basically doing old retro matches and redoing them. I like it. Um, and I hate on the internet that's hating on it because we all fucking do it. All of us do it. I'll watch something that's old and I'm like, dude, I like this. I'm gonna do it in my next match. And then somebody will be like, oh, dude, that was a great spot. I was like, yeah, I got it from fucking Bill Dundee and Excel guy from back in the day. Um, but no, like they were both great for different reasons.
Okay, fantastic. Roman Reigns or John Cena?
Well, I saw Roman grow up basically because I
Really?
was there for his very first match for first matches in FCW. Look up Ricardo
Ah,
Rodriguez's Key. I wrestled him God knows how many times, a few times on TV. So I was there for his beginning.
that's
And
really
then
cool.
John Cena.
That's really really cool. So just to keep onto that subject for a second, so you literally wrestled Roman when he was in his baby stages in FCW.
Yeah. Yeah. In FCW. Look up Key versus Ricardo Rodriguez.
That's amazing. I shall have a look for that tonight when we finish up. Thank you very much. Okay, next. This is the big one. Stone Cold or The Rock?
It's not so much rapid though. I still feel it's different. Well, I have to give respect to Austin because Austin went through the process of wrestling in Japan, wrestling, throughout the states, before making it big, and then Rock came from football, so but also Roman came from football, and then John Cena came from APW, and he or even in the Boston area, I think, but APW in California. So Cena did other stuff before WWE, whereas Rock just kind of came from football. It's a hard one, but different
Okay.
reasons. Though. Different reasons.
Okay. And this one's just for me personally, because they're my two favourite wrestlers Undertaker or Sting?
For me, Taker. I've never met Sting, so Taker.
Okay, fair enough. Britt Baker or Bianca Belair?
Ah,
It's a tricky one.
shit. Athletically, yeah, Bianca, hands down. Athletically, um, I'm also a big fan of her entrance. I haven't had the pleasure of really knowing too much of Britt. I like I like that she's one of the top dogs, or I say that a lot. And it's not because of Roman. It's just that something I've always said it. She's one of
It's
the top
alright.
dogs for the women's division in AEW.
Okay. TNA or AEW?
I personally enjoy the Impact product a little more, the wrestling side of it more, but the production obviously of AEW.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Miro or Rusev?
Nah, I
That's
know.
technically a trick question.
Yeah, no, no. Well, also because I've known Miro from before we were both in WWE, because we both got signed the same day. We used to trade in California together at Knox Pro, and that was Rikishi's school. Gangrel was our trainer before we got signed to WWE, and we did our trial the same day, and we got signed the same day. So
That's
yeah,
really cool to know.
Miroslav is my boy.
That's really cool to know. John Moxley or Dean Ambrose?
Uh, when we were younger in FCW, I went out with John. I went out with John. Dean Ambrose was different. I didn't hang out with Dean Ambrose, but I went out with John. We had a lot of fun times with John.
Nah, we'll go with Moxley on that one then.
Yeah.
Kenny Omega or Seth Rollins?
I don't. I've never met Kenny, so Seth.
Seth it is.
Only because I've never met Kenny.
Okay. MJF or The Miz?
Miz, Miz.
Yes.
I feel I would love to have some sort of confrontation between Miz and MJF eventually.
Ah, if MJF ever signs with WWE, that's my dream feud.
Yeah.
Like, it really is. And last question before we let you do some promo work for us, Alex. Who do you think's going to win at SummerSlam?
Roman.
Roman? Okay.
Roman.
Okay. Well, I've taken up 56 minutes of your time. Have you got anything you'd like to promote before we finish up? Or any...
Yeah, well, I unfortunately something had happened, and now we were gonna stream on Fight TV, but it didn't work out. And but we have a big live event that's coming up here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, at the Barnstormer Stadium, Clipper Magazine Stadium, excuse me. And we're gonna have a lot of local talent from CZW, Valor Pro, from the Central Pennsylvania area. But we also have Santino Morella, Fandango, Alberto El Patron, yours truly, of course, and also the WWE Hall of Famer, Rob Van Dam. If
Amazing.
if you're watching this and are within the Pennsylvania, Maryland, New York area, you can get tickets at LancasterBarnstormers.com/pro-wrestling. You can follow me on Twitter at RRWWE. I haven't changed it because if I change it, I lose a blue check mark, and I don't want to lose that. You can follow me also on Instagram at the letter J underscore Rodriguez 818. And like I said earlier, I think I am gonna go forward and open up my own wrestling school eventually. So keep an eye out for that. It'll be a whole lot of fun.
Fantastic. Well, Ricardo, it's been an absolute pleasure. I can't thank you enough. This is my first interview, so it's been fantastic. You've been amazing.
That cherry.
Really enjoyed it. Thank you very much, everyone that's joined in and watched the program. If you like what we do here at WrestleBuddy, if you enjoy the content we're trying to put out, please like, share, and subscribe to this video. It helps us out. It's the only way the YouTube algorithm really knows we exist. That's everything. Okay, Ricardo. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. And I shall see you again next time. Bye.